Welcome to Tech This Way.
Anyway, hey, thanks for joining the call.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to have tried to move this meeting. Meeting baru habis. I've been having back-to-back meeting the whole day lah. So.
It seems like everybody seems to be in. Okay, I don't know. I was going to say more productive, but being in more meetings doesn't mean it's more productive.
My guys in the technical space, they feel it's more productive now because people can't hide behind emails. People have to go into the meeting itself and work.
Yeah, and it's harder to say you're busy doing something else when it's just a call away, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, so I wanted to welcome you to the program. It's basically just to find out more about yourself, and so obviously now that you're at Plus. And how was that? I mean, I met you first when you were still in Post Malaysia. So I wanted to understand a little bit about your history. Lepas tu, what all the cool stuff that's going on with Plus lah. Which, on the top of my head, must be very quiet right now, right? On the highways.
Yeah. The movement control order makes everybody stay in the house. Tapi the nerve of the country, which is the commercial vehicle, that one is still moving. So from a daily number of vehicles, we usually have 1.6, 1.7 million cars a day. But now, due to the MCO, the amount of passenger cars have dropped down so much. So it's generally about 265,000 vehicles a day now, compared to 1.6 million.
Wow.
And then it doesn't help when the police and when the police are doing all the enforcement dekat luar toll plaza. So that also stops more cars from going in.
But that still sounds a lot though, right? 250,000 moving around a day?
Yeah, because we are the backbone. So most of them are the commercial vehicles, because you are talking about containers at the seaports, the face masks that you buy, those kind of stuff lah.
No, but when you say 250,000 vehicles, that's commercial or?
That's in the total number.
Oh, total. Okay, then that's quite low lah.
That's quite low. The total number, as opposed to 1.6 to 1.7 in one day lah.
So just share with me what are your current roles now, dekat Plus and also at the subsidiary.
Okay, so I hold two C-level positions. One is at the Plus level, I'm the CTO, so that means Chief Technology and Innovation Officer. So from a Plus perspective, it's a concession of highway. So during the concession and within the concession, meaning the physical land, we are looking for more innovation and more technology. And then and Plus owns a subsidiary company which was bought over about 10 years ago, and it's called Teras Technology, which is 25 years old technology company. So I'm the CEO for that company, and pretty much what a CEO does, the whole P&L and culture and stuff like that. So 165 people in that company. Dalam Plus is 3,800. So I switch my hat every hour between a client and a service provider lah. So from a Teras point of view, we service all the other highways, not just Plus. So macam LDP, View, Sprint, all that lah, things that you use perhaps. So I service them as well as my client, and I'm also the client sometimes.
So if from a Plus standpoint, is it like an outsource your IT to Teras, or actually is this very specific things that Teras does?
Only specific mobility type technology. So Plus itself ada its own IT department, which is under me as the CTIO. So so we have about 60 people there who takes care of normal IT lah, you know, cloud, network, computers. Tapi when it comes to the core system, which is toll collection, macam from a telco point of view or bank point of view, is the core banking. So that particular offering too is not done by the IT department. That one is done by the subsidiary. So from a Teras point of view, we service we develop and we sell and we maintain the toll collection system for many concessionaires, many highways.
Ah, okay. So let's go back a little bit in your days before post and all that, and then eventually you end up in Plus, right? Because you had a bit of an entrepreneurial start also. So share us.
So I came back to Malaysia 2010. So before that, from 1995, I was in Melbourne. 6 years of university, and then after that, I worked in my first job after university was a small company of about 5 people, and then within 5 years we became 100 people. So it was a geospatial engineering company. So that got me learning in my first working experience how a small company works. So I was everything lah. I was the technical guy, I was the sales guy, I was the Exchange 4.5 email server guy.
So you were in a startup then lah?
Yeah, I was a startup then. Of course, at that time, we didn't call it startup, we called it a small company.
Yeah.
So there was 5 people, and by the time I left 5 years after that, it was already about 100. So I learned firsthand on, you know, hiring, firing, project managing, everything lah. And I reported over the 5 years to the owner of the company. Okay, so I joined a consulting company for about two years. So suit and tie, and you know, chargeable hours. Every day is a chargeable hour kind of lifestyle. So okay, I learned the big corporate MNC style. Then as I was doing that, I was called back by many of the clients that I took care of in my first company. So I then make the jump to set up my own business. We call here bootstrap your own money. So
this was all within the same geospatial industry.
Yes. Yeah, so I was servicing telecommunication, defense, utilities, water company, local government. So and as I was busy doing that, there were a lot of people actually raised their hands to resell my software. So that got me thinking on, I shouldn't just stay in Melbourne, and I have all these interested parties to wanting to sell my software. So that's how after a few years, I decided to fly into Malaysia again. Before I was not doing that. I was just working in New Zealand, Melbourne, Sydney, US a bit.
Oh, you mean you started this your own company when you were still in Australia?
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. So as I flew back to Malaysia a few times, then I realized, hey, not bad. I miss my country, even though at that time I didn't miss lah. Tapi when you come back, you dah makan balik kan. Then you feel okay lah. I think I should be here. So one thing led to another. I set up a local business with a local partner, and then so that got me busy in terms of selling into Malaysian punya sector and the ASEAN punya sector, and then
this was still your product lah that you brought back.
My own product. So I kind of come from you develop your own things mindset. So I'm not into the the reselling of things, 5% markup. I don't prefer those kind of things. I prefer to develop from scratch, where the IP and the whole end to end, we know what we are doing. So then I then realized, I realized due to people headhunting me for all these different jobs. So I got headhunted into ASEAN. I work in ASEAN, all the 10 countries in Southeast Asia. So I worked there as well. And then as I was doing that, I got headhunted into Post Malaysia. Okay. And so that's how this whole thing started. And when I was in Post Malaysia, I got headhunted into Plus. So pretty much I just follow where the demand is.
So you were okay to jump out from your own thing and join ASEAN at the time?
Yeah, because the opportunity was pretty fun. I was given the chance to earn by the day, so it's like a per day kind of mission, and which is nice. I've never had that kind of chance before. But more importantly, is the mission. The mission was to develop a handbook for engineers, surveyors, accountants, and architects to be able to graduate from any ASEAN country and work in any other ASEAN country. So that particular book, or it's a small book, was written by me and a few others.
Okay, menarik.
Yeah.
So then, what was the call from POS that enticed you to go over? What were you doing over there?
Because of my geospatial skills, I've done a lot of geospatial work outside Malaysia, and then when the CEO of Post Malaysia at that time said that in Malaysia, when it comes to kita punya alamat rumah, is actually bawah Post Malaysia, and there is a lot of under development. Our address system, our postcode systems are hugely under service. It's not standardized. So they asked me to join and see what I can do. So one thing led to another. There were so many things that I could do, and so a few things were not easy. The particular postal punya address system was not easy to be changed because it needed a lot of punca kuasa from the top of the government, not Post Malaysia. Post Malaysia was just a company that carries letters and parcel. Is actually dalam punca kuasa MCMC and all these things. But at the same time, Post Malaysia Post Malaysia should innovate. So the topic of the day was e-commerce.
So what year was this?
5 years ago. So 2015, 2017.
Yeah. So share a little bit, because when I met you at Post Malaysia, that was the time. Obviously, Post Malaysia was in being disrupted mode, right?
Yeah.
So how was that experience?
Yeah, so it was a fantastic experience in terms of, number one, it is a public listed company, so the shares were very rock bottom at that time, RM2.40. And in my 4 years there, we got it to be maximum RM5.50. So why I'm saying this is because I then learned that a public company must create excitement, so that the shareholders, the minority and the majority shareholder, they can understand where their money is being used. So that creates demand in the open market and that kind of thing. So Post Malaysia is more than 100 years old. Dulu pejabat Post dan Telecom. So therefore, its network is all over the country. 25,000 staff, 1,000 post office. Every pekan, every kampung memang ada certain postal services lah. However, it was not changing to the needs of the society. Society wanted packages to be delivered faster, 24 hours, sending and receiving. And the post office is not just a place where you pay bills, because you can pay bills anywhere now. So it needs that physical network to has so much potential in terms of more things for local merchants, to go and post their items. And then, of course, when it comes to people sending and receiving, it's not a local domestic market. We are talking about regional, we're talking about international. So things macam marketplaces, import, export. So everything needs to be connected. So I then became the owner of the e-commerce punya word. So that became like the end-to-end punya capability. So how do we build e-commerce end-to-end? Meaning from the airport, which is, you met me there at the DFTZ thing. So
yes, correct. That was the time when we have DFTZ and Alibaba and all that, right?
Yeah. So the end-to-end e-commerce means that all the way from international into Malaysia, and then the line haul, meaning when you have all these lorries and trucks on highways going long distance, and then going to the post office, which is, you know, if the center one is near the train station. If you notice, in all the cities, there's always a post office next to the KTM punya office. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because that is how society was built. And then if you also notice the kilometer marker, the concrete marker by the side of the jalan luar tu, when you travel ikut jalan luar, you see kilometer marker, dia kata lumut 44 ataupun whatever kan.
The milestone.
That milestone always actually refers to the post office of that town.
Wow. So that means a town doesn't exist if it doesn't have a post office there?
Yes. So it's very essential that a town has a police station, a post office, and a hospital. So poster was the communication medium of the past, which needed to be modernized for the future lah. Yeah. So it requires an end-to-end. End-to-end means that all the way from the postman, which hantar surat, what can they do moving forward, and then post laju, which is itemized, which is packages, and then all the online stuff and the payment stuff and the warehousing, the import export. So yeah, that was a very interesting 4 or 5 years there.
So how far did you get with that?
Basically, I got to a point where I established the blueprint, established the competency, tell the whole world about it. So people start buying more and more shares of the company. So that's how it became 5 ringgit 20 cents. So I was the key part there because I was always on stage and I was helping my CEO, Dato Shukri at that time, to always say the right things to the ministers, to the National E-Commerce Council, to all the people who hope and wish that we have better e-commerce. And that was in the inception of e-commerce. There was no e-commerce at that time.
Then after your 4 or 5 years, decided to go join another.
Well, no. Yeah, I was tapped on the shoulder to say that to ask me that can I do the same thing for another company?
And you turn around and say yes lah.
Yeah, so I said yeah lah, okay lah. I think 5 years is pretty long enough, and when things were becoming BAU, business as usual, instead of innovation, then I said to myself, okay lah, I think it's fine. I move on, and for me, any industry is fine. I'm not confined to one sector, because even like I told you, when I first started working, I've been servicing many industries, so I'm not worried about where I'm going. So yeah, so that got me to join the highway business, and the highway business means it's actually the mobility business. The business of people moving from point A to point B. So we're talking about autonomous vehicle and connected vehicle and traffic jams and ride sharing, and these are all new things as well. Yeah.
So let's talk about, I guess the innovation part of your portfolio is obviously quite interesting lah, kan? I guess you can either share what's specific to Plus or what's relevant to highways in general lah. If there's secrets that you can't reveal yet, I guess you can just share generally what the trend is when it comes to mobility.
Yeah, so I think the basic conversation is about value versus the price that people see. So if people, so unfortunately in the highway business, people talk about the toll fare, the price of toll. They don't really talk about the value of toll. And if people talk about the value of toll, then you actually don't mind paying for what you are using, because without the toll highway, you will use the Jalan Luar, which means Ipoh KL will take you 5 hours. But you pay, but if you pay a small amount of toll, Ipoh KL is only 2 hours. So it's talking about value, but because the people in the industry seldom talks about value, so therefore the default conversation became that the toll that we pay is expensive.
But it's also because I think there's such a close link with the government of the day, okay, that people feel it's an obligation or it's a right to have this access anyway.
Yeah, correct. So it's the narrative in the industry that has been a bit passive lah. The narrative has not been done correctly, so therefore it became a political tool. Therefore it became like, you know, as plus, and plus is a money making toll collection. They don't see anything else. But the value is that we must tackle things like congestion. We must tackle things like safety, and even if you look at the developed countries, they also tackle things like ride sharing and connected mobility and Tesla punya concept of moving people. So this is all basically conversations that are lacking in the industry. So what I've been doing for the last 2 years is there's two parts. From a CEO point of view is to develop more products. Fortunately, from a Teras point of view, they are also the same DNA as I am, meaning that we develop our own products in-house. We are not a reseller of, we buy from IBM and we repackage. We don't do that. We actually develop everything in-house for the last 25 years. So that DNA is there, so that's good. So we therefore have been innovating in terms of new products within the toll industry by including new competency. So I actually bring in new competency macam machine learning, data science, video analytics, so that the conversation in the industry is not just about buying software. It's actually about learning what the data is trying to say. So the data about people punya journey. You know, why did you take 5 hours Ipoh to KL? Get the data to tell more. So that's from a CEO point of view, develop new products and have the better culture, better productivity. And then from Plus point of view is to actually introduce directly the new technology. So macam RFID, that is one of them. But it's just the beginning. It's not even the middle story. It's just the page 1 out of 1,000 page punya book. So by putting RFID onto vehicles, it means that we can actually remotely connect to the vehicle. It's like in the banking system, people have cards. So it's similar.
So you touched on a few things just now. Let's go into that a little bit more. And then we go at the end. We can go about the RFID one. I had Nizam on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And then we can talk about that. But let's go back to what you talked about. Okay, so there was congestion and there was safety, and there's about the mobility, right? So let's share for obviously this is not an industry that I'm from or general people are from. So how do you address congestion, for example, and what is Plus doing about that?
Yeah, so I take a page from what people do overseas. So, similar to Post Malaysia punya experience, the only way Post Malaysia can learn is to compare Post Malaysia with the equivalent of Post Malaysia, Singapore Post, DHL, USPS, because they are, a few steps ahead of us. So we look at what they are doing. So obviously, if they are doing e-commerce and international logistics and parcel lockers, then Post Malaysia shouldn't be far behind. So that's what I did in Post Malaysia. So the same thing in the highway business. Plus, macam Post Malaysia, we are the biggest and the number one provider in the country. So we cannot compare ourselves to the second or third, because these are also local players which are actually looking at you. So you cannot be looking at them. So therefore, my default reference is to look at how overseas highways actually perform their best in class punya activity. So one way, which was most highways in developed country, I think Singapore is one of them, where they use the variation in toll fare. Toll fare is not static. Yeah, so similar to our airfare, our flight punya price, where you have the same plane, Air Asia for example, and the same flight, the same plane yang ada 100 people, the same food, but pukul 7 punya 7 o'clock in the morning is little bit expensive, 9 o'clock lagi mahal, pukul 11 pagi might be the cheapest, pukul 2 it becomes cheaper. So because it's about demand and supply. In 1960s, the airfare of airlines are actually macam toll. It's static. Doesn't matter what time, doesn't matter how many times a day, the same flight between Penang and KL in the 60s, harga sama, 24 hours the whole year.
Really? Didn't know that.
In the 60s. But after that, market demand forces, so therefore they deregulate so that it can fluctuate. However, in Malaysia, our toll fare cannot or didn't become that way. It's still static. So it means that bila static, we cannot use the toll fare to manage congestion. For example, in peak hour, Friday afternoon, we know it's going to be jam. Tapi kalau harga toll naik sikit, then less people will leave home at that time. They will still remain in the office. Mungkin ada 2 meeting lagi, and they come home after the toll fare has gone down. At the same time, when the toll fare goes up, it's a connection between the toll fare and public transport system fare. The public transport system fare goes down at the same time.
So that influences that
influences the mass mobility of people. So people in the KLCC area will think twice of driving your car in and out. You would take LRT or whatever way, because you are incentivized in public transportation and you are de-incentivized in terms of your car. Because you see, when it comes to cars, if you notice in your car, you have at least 5 seats. But most of the time, you're only alone. So the space that you occupy.
Right now, because MCO, you have to.
But this is our style now. But if you think about the space that you occupy, your car occupies maybe about 6, 7, 8 people for one car, the space that it takes. So, and dekat Malaysia tak ada carpool. People don't carpool. So therefore it becomes congested. Easily the highway or any road becomes congested. So therefore toll is one measure to contain that, to control how many more people should drive, how many more people shouldn't drive. Because to add a lane onto a highway is not easy. It will take many years and billions of ringgit. So toll is one measurement. So unfortunately, we lost the conversation. So toll in Malaysia, as you know, is going down.
But even as it's going down, it doesn't mean that, going down can be a blended rate if you like. But you could still have those variations during the day though.
Yeah, so this is the challenge to the industry, that within a price reduction over the next 30 years of your product, you must still innovate. So that's not easy lah.
So it sounds like an obvious answer, right? Yeah, play with the pricing and should influence your customers?
Yeah. So that's one measurement. We use, the developed highways use the toll fare to manage how much congestion can become. Second is about investing into more technology so that we can inform our customers that a congestion or a fatal accident is ahead of you, so that before you go onto the highway and start to spend the money for toll, you are actually advised early on. And this is where the machine learning and the data science come in the picture, because it's all about predicting what is going to happen. So therefore, we are trying to save you, not only save you money, but try to save you time. So this is the element of Internet of Things and more sensors, so that we can, because if we know what is your pattern every day, then therefore we can proactively inform you, don't get into your car at this time because this is your normal time. Don't do that, because we are predicting that you will get stuck in the traffic a lot longer than yesterday.
So is that something that Plus is specifically going to do?
Yeah, that is something that we were doing as part of the data science and the Internet of Things punya competency lah. Because when I joined, I introduced Plus to the cloud computing, to data science, which was not there before I joined. So this gave all the capability, and now we just need to convince more of the business to kind of produce more of this kind of products to the customer. And when I talk about customer, it does not mean people with the smartphone alone. It can be, like for example, the car of the future is where, if you notice cars of the future, the dashboard is like a computer now.
Yeah.
It can do so many things. Yeah, it's like a normal LCD screen. You can install apps and you can receive notification. So that would be the next future place where data point from the highway connects to vehicles. So what in the industry, what we call V2V or V2X.
Okay, what's that?
So V2V is what you may have seen in Volvo, vehicle to vehicle. So you may have seen in your rear, in your side mirror, for example, it will inform you there's a car on your left. So
on your blind spot, yeah.
On your blind spot. So that one is a vehicle to vehicle. Vehicle trying to sense the other vehicle. However, there's another concept called V2X. X means everything. So from a highway point of view, we are in the everything punya space. So therefore, can the highway tell the car, and for the car, if it's already autonomous, so the highway is telling the car to drive, for example, at 45 kilometers per hour, no faster, no slower, so that every car, because it's autonomous, every car will follow the same speed. So imagine the impact to safety, impact to the congestion when you remove the human bias when you drive your car.
But I guess obviously as a highway operator, the dependency for that technology is essentially in the car manufacturers themselves, or is Plus, how does Plus influence the auto industry to have those things in?
No, we don't want to influence them. It's about them. I mean, what is the place where people install and people want more and more information? So therefore, from a local perspective, Plus and the other highway operators, and also maybe public transportation operators, all of us must work together. We become the data provider that car manufacturers actually wants you to connect to their car. Yeah, and as you know, the future, the new way of having cars, they don't want to just own a car. They actually want to own mobility. So people actually wouldn't mind having a subscription to a car. They don't want to buy a car anymore. Car sharing, car, and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true. So the data play, so in fact, before we go there, let's go back to something tactical skit, which is the RFID at the tolls. So when are we going to have this gantry-less, bar-less highway and just free flow all the time?
Yeah, so this is the conversation that I have with many people, because from a rakyat point of view, when rakyat install RFID sticker, they expect, number one, the toll plaza is no longer there.
Yes, saya rakyat.
Yeah, and therefore kalau tak ada toll plaza, then there will be a gantry lah. Okay, so unfortunately, what I have noticed, the narrative in the industry is very far behind. So, number one, why we have the RFID on your car is because the sensor on the highway can detect your car moving up to 200 kilometers per hour. So, yeah, the sensor can detect you moving near the sensor up to 200 kilometers per hour. So, because of that, the idea of you slowing down or even stopping at the toll plaza is such a wasteful punya thinking lah. Yeah. So, but the first step is vehicle install RFID tag. The second step is with that tag, then when you come to a toll plaza, you would, from a customer point of view, you would actually want the scenario to be as smooth sailing as possible. You don't want to stop, touch something. You don't want to touch anymore. Yeah, you just want to smooth. So therefore, the first thing that's going to happen after you have installed RFID tag is that highway operators must look into how do we make certain lanes become better than smart tag lanes. So when you come to that lane, palang is not even there. You can just go in, go out, but of course not at 100 kilometers per hour because the plaza is still there, the lanes are still there. But maybe 50 kilometers instead of 10 kilometers or even 0. Yeah, so that's the first step. That world, we call that world single lane free flow.
Okay.
Single lane. So if you can imagine Jalan Duta punya toll plaza, as you know, Jalan Duta ada banyak toll plaza kan. So you imagine that Jalan Duta toll plaza dalam katakan 10 toll lane tu 1 or 2 tak ada palang. So when tak ada palang, then obviously if you have a RFID tag in your car, then you would be already, one step towards making it happen. You can just go in the plaza, tak ada palang, and just drive out lah. So as we perfect that situation, then we can actually be in a situation where semua plaza tak payah palang langsung. Remove the entire palang for all the plaza. So therefore, there's no need for the plaza lah. Therefore, it goes to that.
Okay, so I have my RFID. So why is the palang still there for a few of the lanes?
Yeah, because the simplest answer I can tell you is that Ministry of Works, which is JKR and all the highways, we are under MOW. Okay. So MOW is not MOT, Ministry of Transport. Okay. Why? Because MOT ada JPJ and many other macam Puspakom and whatever. They have enforcement power.
Okay.
MOW tak ada enforcement power. Tak ada. We don't have. So from a legal point of view, if we remove the palang, imagine how many people would want to go in and go out without paying.
For free lah, of course.
For free. And we have no right, tak ada kuasa untuk for us to stop anyone and demand money. We don't have.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first thing that you
as a rakyat bodoh, isn't it? Just talk to MOT lah. Tell them to.
Exactly. But as you can imagine, this is not within PLAS lah kan. This is between the ministry, this is the politics between different agency lah kan. So it's a bit beyond us. So it's not a technology issue. It's more of punca kuasa, who has the authority to stop vehicle and demand money. So we don't have it. So we need this punca kuasa to be analyzed and to be understood even better compared to now. That's the first one. The second one is that if possible, we don't even need enforcement. Everything is automated. It's automated, meaning as you go in and you go out, we collect immediately. So this is where the touch and go e-wallet as an e-wallet, or it can be any other wallet, and the sticker, which means that the sticker is irrefutable when it's connected to your car. It's your car. It's not a lain indicator. It's not like smart tag where you can move the smart tag into other cars. So therefore, when we collect from your car 2 times a day, 10 times a week, it is definitely you. Yeah. And then when we collect from you, we collect from the wallet or from the source of funds. So it can be a debit card, credit card, whatever. So to me, I prefer that we can have that style. I mean, instead of waiting for the punca quarter, which may take many more years, I prefer that we set up the proper technology space so that each time you and your RFID tag and your source of payment, whether it's the wallet or debit or credit or whatever, Bitcoin, whatever that you define, if from a highway point of view, I see you have traveled 20 kilometers, you have gone in and out of 2 toll plaza, 20 kilometers means 4 ringgit, and you do it 10 times a day, I can collect 4 ringgit times 10 times every day. So it from a e-payment point of view lah, like a normal e-commerce punya style. So I prefer in that way lah, because I think it's a lot easier for us to actually do it. But of course, we also need to put safeguards. What happens when you have no money into your bank account? You know, zero e-wallet, kena top up or whatever. And then what happens if you have no RFID tag? You are a car from Thailand, or you have a stolen car, and all this kind of stuff. So we still need a little bit of enforcement, but I think the best way is to make technology even better lah.
I guess that's where, you know, if you look at Singapore, which obviously you guys have in the whole city where ERP is there, right? That's what's happened, right? That's the ideal state lah.
That's the ideal, tapi as you know, Singapore is a very controlled, simple environment. You know, they don't have many cars from other countries.
Yeah. So to give us hope, are you saying, okay, so you have that vision, and I'm sure Plus has to, and are conversations happening then at the background somewhere where we are slowly inching towards that?
We are slowly inching, tapi in the last, many months, it has been 2 steps forward, 1 step back lah. So because it's not a technology issue, I'm a technology guy. We can also develop all these things and sell, but because the government of the day, what happened under Pakatan was Pakatan had a toll abolishment manifesto. For the last two years. So due to that manifesto, abolish toll, can you imagine that such a manifesto actually creates uncertainty to the business world? When the government of the day, macam in your case in Etika, for example, government of the day kata, in 5 years time, I don't want insurance anymore. Abolish more insurance.
Yeah, can imagine, right? You're like, what?
Yeah. So it's not a technology issue. It's actually from a business stakeholder, shareholder. They are wondering what's going to happen to me in many years from now because the political story is all toll is to be abolished. So that became the first conversation that kind of like put the spanner in the works. After that, Tun Mahathir then said that for Plus will not be sold, tapi Plus punya toll fare instead of going up, which is as per the contract, it goes down minus 18% and will go down even further up to 2058. So from a shareholder point of view, your income dah lah kena potong 18%. Number 2, tak boleh naik. You must make it go lower and lower until 2058. Can you imagine how your board of directors are going to react.
Yeah. So is it too soon to ask what's therefore the conversation now with the new government?
It's too soon to ask because we
Okay.
don't know, because we are in the confinement period and the MCO, so I don't know. I don't know. But what I'm doing is we still develop technology so that we can still tackle the low-hanging punya challenges. The major challenge which we were talking about just now, the gantry and all that, I think it will still happen, but it will take a lot longer than I hope so lah.
Unless it becomes somebody's manifesto lah, then you go lah. So back to the all these cool innovations that you are doing, I guess more tactical lah. So what kind of stuff can we expect from Plus and from the highways?
Yeah, so
assuming you have the money to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So when I joined the first year, I did a hackathon. So in 2018. So the idea here is that it was the first hackathon for the organization, and for the industry actually, for the entire highway mobility industry, there was none. We were the first, and I had it done. Why? Because not so much of getting ideas, but actually to make the industry players, the CEOs, the civil engineers, the highway concession people, I want them to see firsthand that for an innovation to happen, hackathon is one of the ways. So that we can get
cultural
people,
also lah.
Yeah, it's a culture of trying to come out with novel ideas. First time ideas are being thought of to tackle the challenges of the day. So that was done in 2018. So I got that going, and the feedback is that people now realize the keyword macam agile versus waterfall, data is king, cloud, all these things were the competency that people planted in their head. And when I mean by people, I'm not talking about the technical guys, I'm talking about the finance guys, the MD, the safety guy, they all buka mata. Okay, so that was in 2018. And then last year, I did the first innovation day for the industry as well. So the innovation day is actually one day where we had 30 speakers in 6 different streams doing simultaneous talks. So 1 hour per speaker, 30 speaker over 5 hours. So, and they were broken into streams of commercial, safety, technology, civil engineering, and whatever else. So, and so that people can see that in the industry, there is a lot of innovation, tapi it's all in research and development and discussion dengan university, POC, pilot, which is running in pockets everywhere. So I kind of pull everything into one place and invited everybody under the sun to come so that they can see that they can choose. For 9 o'clock, you want a commercial punya innovation. So you look at point of sale, you look at customer analytics. At 10 o'clock, you want to have a look at from a safety punya innovation. What sort of innovation actually is happening in safety, in saving lives? So the word innovation is not a technical technology word. It's an industry word, and it means that we are trying to tackle issues by using internal and external thinking. So that also makes people understand that an organization doesn't need to spend 100% on innovation. We can actually have co-partnership. So the whole co-ownership of IP, develop the prototype or the product dengan orang luar lah. So I got that going last year. This year, there will be a few datathons. Yeah, that will be this year.
So obviously that's then all evolves around data and analytics lah, the partners.
Yeah, correct. But and it's good that everybody is confined to work from home, because as we can see, the whole world, only companies who are into the data and technology and cloud are the ones who are benefiting now.
No, you mentioned about when you do these things, it was for the industry. Is that, I guess, a role that Plus is playing because it is the largest operator in Malaysia?
It's a role that I play very very actively because it's weird to see Plus as the 1,000 kilometers corridor on the peninsula. It's weird to see that corridor as being an exclusive corridor. It means what I'm trying to say is everything is connected. Like the KTM and the West Coast Expressway and the Air Asia flying above. I think we're all connected because we're all connected in terms of, from a rakyat point of view, these are modes of mobility. Yeah. So and when the economy, I mean, like now MCO, people cannot move. When people cannot move, the economy takes a big hit.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I take
so-
an industry stand at all times, but obviously I have to position my organization to be the first mover advantage lah. But the problem statement is an industry punya problem statement.
So let's go into the MCO sekejap lah. Now
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier on at the start, it's down to a quarter of a million passengers. Obviously, that's a huge hit on your revenues lah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess there's not a lot of control that you have from the market, right? Because if it's locked down for another 2 weeks, another month, there's not a lot you guys can do. Are you guys looking at any other revenue streams at all as a highway operator?
Yeah, so it has always been on our books that we have two types of revenue. One is what we call toll revenue, which is our main, which is 95% of our income, and then we have non-toll revenue. So non-toll revenue are from, for example, the merchants. We have 800 merchants at our rest areas. Yeah, so and then we have also from a subsidiary point of view that we sell the toll systems and from a technology sale point of view. So we have non-toll and we have toll. Unfortunately, due to MCO, those two are severely impacted because, like, from a non-toll point of view, less people can go to the rest area, and the shops in the rest area have to maintain social distancing, and less workers can work there, and so everything is impacted lah.
They still open the rest stops?
Some we have to close down. Some are open because those that are open are strategically because they have a petrol station also in the same area. So we open those. Tapi we have to close down a few things because we don't want those rest area to become a place where people will congregate due to the social distancing and thing. We don't want people to hang around there and becomes a place where infection can happen. So we have to disperse people. So when people stop, only one person can leave out from the car to go and buy food. Only one, not the entire car. One at a time, and those kind of stuff. So having a look at all the other companies all over the world, those that have a hybrid business, they have a physical business and they have a digital business. MCO will kill or stop the physical business, but the digital business is still going.
So what's a digital business on a highway?
Well, that's when we have been we have a few innovation under the radar that we are looking into. How can we offer highway customers new products and services, but you don't need to be on the highway.
Let me think about that for a second.
Well, it's something like this. It's something like what Air Asia has done. You don't need to be an Air Asia customer just because you can also use Air Asia Big Pay.
Okay.
Macam tu lah.
Associated businesses lah, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's still very, very small, tapi it means that you still have another approach in engaging your customer, not just the traditional physical approach that is confined now.
And I guess that there's nothing in your company's terms to say that you are stuck in this narrow business area only, kan?
Yeah, no, I mean, we have a concession. So the concession means that we have to manage the concession on behalf of the shareholder. So the shareholder is EPF and Khazanah. All of us are shareholders of Plus. So therefore, as shareholders of Plus, we want Plus to be running the concession as professionally as possible. But we are not confined to the business of the concession alone. We can always look into other ancillary or supporting businesses that can make additional income for the shareholder.
I guess from a Teras standpoint, you've got the industry locked in, if you like.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you planning to go beyond your traditional customers and do some other industries altogether?
Yeah. So that's been the day one punya conversation when I became CEO. I noticed that they were very dependent on the business of Plus. And so in 2018, I told them, and I told the management team that we need to diversify. We need to develop offerings that, based on our competency, we can develop offerings that can be used outside the toll business. For example, macam the public transportation space, macam the parking space, the congestion in urban centers, not just on highways. RFID related, not just on highways, it can be for apartment complex. So there are many areas that fortunately we have been diversifying, but of course not fast enough.
Yeah, okay. I've got just two more questions before we can call it a day. The first one is, so what is the relationship with Touch and Go? Whether it's from a payment standpoint or whether from the RFID, what's the dynamics between you guys? And to be fair to you, he also said that he wants to do the data play, right? So he wants to be that platform for everybody. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I think to be fair to him and to be fair to everybody wants to do the same thing, which is to leverage on the new oil, which is data. Okay, so Touch and Go is a name that most Malaysians can relate to because it's the payment system that started from the highway. And as you know, there's Touch and Go Digital. So therefore, it represents a payment convenience that people can relate to. So from a Plus point of view, we rely on the payment convenience, and we also rely on Touch and Go being more innovative so that we are not locked down to only one way of payment convenience, especially in the world of e-commerce. And even if you look at the story that I mentioned just now, the gantry approach, why can't we have more options of payment convenience? So we expect Touch and Go as the partner in payment convenience to continually innovate on that. That's from Plus point of view. From Teras point of view, we have been their subcontractor for the last 10 years. So when when they implement Touch and Go card or smart tag or now RFID Touch and Go, the back end, especially when it comes to the configuration and installation on the highway, that's being done by us for them. So because they don't have the competency, they are more of a payment settlement, payment consolidation. They are into that space. We are into the software development, integration space. So we are also working with them to try to come up with new products and services that is not just for highway. So for example, I think they are talking to my guys in terms of RFID for parking. So therefore the installation of the system at the physical parking location is similar to an installation dekat toll plaza.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. So that particular subcontractor work that is done by us, and but we shouldn't be confined to the conversation of RFID, because the conversation of RFID is today punya conversation. Each technology, macam smart tech, has about 5 to 8 years punya shelf life. So today is RFID, which may last until 2025, 2028. What is the conversation after that? Yeah, because people will still move, and maybe at that time, there are different patterns of mobility, more ride sharing or more whatever. So Plus needs to have a partner macam Touch and Go that is innovating in terms of payment convenience, tapi also looking at how things can be done better, and also how can we bring more convenience to the customer. Like for example, customer doesn't like to process the top up punya requirement, because to top up is not a easy process. You have to take money from one account and put into another account. If we can remove that process and people can still travel A to B, less friction, then we expect Touch and Go to be thinking in that manner juga lah.
Okay, yeah, that's good. And because it's been such a long relationship anyways, right? So there's that synergy lah between you guys. I guess the last question then is your own looking forward for yourself lah. So you shared a little bit about Teras and Plus moving forward. But what about for yourself, Sam? So what next?
Maybe I should say this, wait and see.
Ooh, interesting. You hear first?
I don't have any specific what's next. To me is when life gives you lemon, you make lemonade.
So what, you've discovered the joy of cooking at home during this MCO, is it? I think time to do that.
Actually, I mean, since you don't know me that well, I like cooking ever since I was young, because when you live overseas for quite a long time, you tend to cook a lot. So I cook every other day during MCO, and on normal days I actually cook on weekends.
Oh, that's cool. And still alive, so it must be quite good.
To me, cooking is something like innovation. You tend to try this, try that, do something that you haven't done before and surprise yourself whether can you do it or not. And sometimes you are bored enough to even do to cook something that you have never cooked before. So, cuba je lah.
Yeah, I guess. And I guess that's a little bit of your philosophy when it comes to the career too, right? Sounds like.
Yeah, that's the way I usually take it in lah. I mean, there's always good days and bad days, so it would be interesting to see what's next when we get back into the office. And then from the industry point of view, I don't think the mobility industry will ever come to a normal. I think there will be a new normal, the new normal moving forward, because this MCO has really been teaching all of us how we can conduct our lives without doing the things that we used to do. Yeah. So this will impact on how people punya mobility lah, and so from that point of view, I have to make sure that from the industry and from the companies that I take care of, they must listen to the customer.
That's right. Okay, Sam. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'll let you go. It's almost time to cook dinner.
Same to you, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, man. Thanks a lot. I'll catch up with you soon. All the best.
Okay, man. Nice talking to you.
Yeah, same here. Stay safe.